50 ideas in 35 minutes. Yes, that's what you're about to discover on this course. I hope you're relaxed, you are tuned in, and you're ready to see how this happens. Hi, my name is Sudesh Kaka, and I help innovators gain clarity through training, consulting, and coaching so that they may turn a profit. What I'm about to show you on this course is how to come up with so many innovative ideas. You know, innovation has so many tools, but I'm about to show you one. Some of you have used it, but I'm about to show you an example of where you can make it much more effective. And I hope you're ready, relaxed. What I want you to do right now is, in case you have any distractions, get them out of the way. Go download a workbook. There's a workbook attached to this video that will help you follow through. So make sure you have it so that you can fill in the spaces and do the exercises, because that's how you optimize the learning on this video. Before we go into all that, I want to share with you a story. Imagine in the animal kingdom having two sides. So you have the royalty part and you have the wild part. In the royalty part, there lived a buffalo and a cow, and on the wild part, there was a rhino. So the rhino had friends in the palace, and it came every day and visited its friends. When it came, it brought them berries, it brought them apples, and they had a variety. Now, in retrospect, in the palace, they had different things. Yes, they had the berries, but they were much polished. They were kept in the refrigerator, and things used to go on so fine in the palace. But because the rhino always brought a variety to the buffalo and the cow that were in the palace, they had an inquisitive mind of how can we get so much more variety into our lives. And you know, the buffalo one time said, you know what, I'll test the berries, I'll test the wild berries and see how they taste. And it tested, and they felt so nice. And so what it did is one day it tells the cow, you know what, I'm moving out of this palace and I'm leaving. The cow says, are you going to leave all this comfort? And the buffalo says, yeah, I want to experience the many berries and apples and all these fruits that the rhino keeps telling us about. Okay, so the buffalo left and it went to the wild, and it was true. It was a hyped up story. In the wild, there were so many species of berries. Guess what? They would even rest under trees. They didn't have so many trees in the palace. Here, they would rest under trees. You would drink spring water. You drink ocean water. You drink lake water. There were so many things in the wild. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, what I'm talking about through this story is brainstorming. Brainstorming is like the wild. It gives you an avenue where you have a variety of ideas, and you can pull out the ones that you want. If you want to define it, it is a semi-structured way of idea generation. Why it is important is because, number one, it will get you unstuck. You remember the buffalo, when it left the palace and went to the wild, it was unstuck because all of a sudden it was exposed to so many things, as opposed to being in the box, what most people call in the box. So brainstorming is going to get you unstuck and give you a variety of ideas that you can choose from. Number two, it will help you generate energy. You know, there's if you're in the palace, there's a wall around, and you're confined, and you're supposed to do certain things under certain regulations and things like that. Here, you have so much at your disposal, so it will generate enough energy. But it will also give you an avenue to provide more value, and not only for yourself, but for your clients. Okay, and if you're in the NGO world, it will give you an avenue to provide more impact, because you have so much to choose from. Just imagine just a person that has 5 ideas and a person that has 50. The one that has 50 has a wide range to choose from. So that is what brainstorming is going to show you. And in the next part of this video, I'll show you how step by step we can get to generating the 50 ideas. So please get ready, and I'll be back. Welcome back to this course. Now, in this part, we are going to be talking about a step-by-step process on how to carry out an effective brainstorm. So first you want to make sure that the room has a great outlay. Okay, you take the chairs out, just put in the tables, make sure people are hydrated, they have some water, they have some snacks on which to bite. So make sure that the outlay is great. And then the second thing you want to do is set rules. Yeah, set rules by which rules that you're going to follow. Now I'll go through the steps and then I'll elaborate on them. Okay, so you set the rules because, as it says, a brainstorm is a semi-structured. It's not totally out of structure. No, you want to make sure that people are operating within a certain parameter, and then lay out the problem. Okay, make sure that you've first of all laid out a problem, so that when you're solving it, you're very clear on what you're exactly solving. Because when you have so many ideas and you're not sure where they are going, it's going to be very hard for you to guide the brainstorm. And then state what the objectives are. If we solve this problem, where shall we get? Okay? Let's say if we want to increase revenue of company X. If we increase revenue of company X, where will that get us? Okay? So lay out the objectives, because the why must be big enough for you to get people's time and help and ask them to come up with ideas. Then first, individually identify solutions. Okay, don't go straight into putting out ideas, asking, the wrong way is to do it like this. You go to a room and people are seated there, and you ask them, okay, guys, we want to come up with with a more effective customer care feedback process. What do you guys think? And one puts up their hand, and another one puts up their hand, and this one goes. Now, one might put up their hand and state something, and then the other one picks out one thing, and then they concentrate on that. So you want them to individually write down their ideas. This will help them come up with a vast range of ideas. Then you pin them up. So after you've come up with ideas as individuals, and then come together as a group, and then one by one they go put up the ideas, and then after they've all put up the ideas, then you start developing on those ideas or getting different ideas. Now I'm going to go over them one by one. The first step is have a suitable room. Make sure the aeration in the room is good. Make sure that people are standing, because it's a high energy process. Make sure they are hydrated, and make sure that people are free in a free environment. As much as possible, remove the desks and chairs from that room, because you want people to interact and move around. Okay? The second part of the process is you want to set some rules. Okay, rules of engagement, rules that are going to guide you to an effective brainstorm. And the first rule is that please defer judgment. Okay, it's up there on the board. Defer judgment. Do not be judgmental about what someone is presenting and what they are putting across. First, get all the ideas across, and then encourage wild ideas. Maybe people are coming up with a device that delivers food. People can come up and say, we want to deliver food using a plane, but you know that the cost of delivering that food is way little compared to the fuel that's going to go in the plane. But just encourage people to have wild ideas. Let them think outside the box, okay? And then ask people to, the other rule that you want to follow is that build on other ideas. Think about it. All innovations that are there are built on other ideas. Elon Musk was not the first one to come up with the electronic car. No, that technology had been around. What he did is just he built on it and made it profitable, made it effective, and he made it sellable. Okay? So encourage people to build on existing ideas. The other rule that you want to follow is that stay focused on the topic. What are we exactly solving? And you're going to see this in the third part when we start laying out the problem. Okay? Yeah. So stay focused on the problem that you are solving. And then state what your objectives are. Yeah, I tackled this a little bit when I was going through the steps. But stay focused on what the objectives are. Where does this lead us? Yeah? And then the other rule that you want to follow is one conversation at a time. Okay? Let one person talk at a time, because if the other one is talking and this one cuts them, it's not only rude, but what it will do is that it will make the person that is talking to have an interruption. So one conversation at a time. Remember, it's semi-structured. Okay? It's not total anarchy. No, it's semi-structured. A brainstorm is semi-structured. So encourage one conversation at a time. And then be visual. And by that, it means as much as possible, avoid writing the ideas that you have. Either draw them out, sketch them out, draw an icon that represents an idea that you're representing. Be visual. Now, why be visual? Why not write? It has been said that people retain pictures more than they retain words. Okay? So be visual and represent your ideas as much as possible. And since there is no judgment, you can draw out sticks, or if you're very good, you can actually sketch out real people or sketch out an actual process. And then go for quantity. You know, at this point in a brainstorm, it's not about this idea and we debate it and do all that. No. You're going for as many as you can, and then choose out the ones that you would want to follow. Okay? So the first step was, number one, make sure that you have a nice space outlay. And the second one is you set some rules. Okay? The third step is that lay out the problem and make it very clear, so that when the people start working on the ideas, they know exactly where they are going. Laying out the problem is very important, because it not only directs you, but also makes sure that if you're leading the process, the brainstorming process, you know how to guide the people. And let's take an example. Let's take an example. By the way, if you haven't downloaded the workbook to this course, please go and download it. It's free of charge, so that you can follow through the processes I'm talking, because we're going to come up with a problem statement by the end of this step. So what you want to discuss, what you want to go through as you're coming out with laying out the problem, is that you want it to be very succinct, so that the people know what they are working on. The first step is you want to define what the problem is. What is the problem? Let's say we have company X, and they have company X has low revenues. So our problem, which is the what, is that it is low revenue, okay, in company X. And then you ask yourself another question: why is it important for us to solve this problem? Okay? If we have low revenues at company X and we don't solve that problem, number one, we will not be able to have the employees there. Number two, the company won't be able to make the impact. Number three, the shareholders will lose their money. Number four, the customers that have been served by that company will be affected. Numbers on and on and on. You won't be able to do the innovation. So come up with as many ways as possible. Okay? Because unless people know the purpose, they're not going to follow through. So after you've come up with a problem, okay, now the problem is that the problem is low revenue. We've seen why it's important for us as a company to solve that revenue problem. Where have we identified that problem? Now, let's say company X has two products. It has one that is called alpha and beta. But alpha is selling through the roof, and beta is suffering. In this case, let's use Coca-Cola. Let's say Coca-Cola wants to increase its revenue and they look at their revenues and they are not there, to answer this question of where, they would want to make it more clear and say, okay, is it in Coca-Cola or it's in Fanta or it's in Sprite, okay? So back to our company, let's say the beta product is not selling as good as the alpha, okay? And then we ask ourselves, who is more affected by this, by the low revenues? Number one, of course, the first person that is affected are the shareholders because they've injected their money. The other people that are affected are the salespeople because if they don't step up the sales of the beta, you know, they will not hit their target, okay? And so you go on and say, okay, who is affected most? And when did we notice this problem? Let's say it's at the end of the year, and then you look at your revenue sheets and you see in quarter one and in quarter three, the sales of beta as opposed to alpha. I'm just using this hypothetically to just take us through how to come up with a problem statement. Let's say you just look at quarter one and quarter three, and then you discover that in those 2 quarters, the sales for beta were not that good, okay? So keep track of all these processes, okay? And then you say, what symptoms are there to show us that they never sold? Of course, we'll look at the sales sheets, we'll look at the income statement, we'll look at all those. There should be symptoms that show us, okay? Tracks, what shows us. And then how often did this problem occur? Now, for this example, we are using 2 cases. We are saying it occurred in the first quarter and in the third quarter, okay? That is very specific because now we have to ask ourselves what happened in the third and the fourth quarter. Now, I have to warn you, if this seems a little bit complex, then rewind the step and go back from the beginning because it's very important. Everything is built on this, okay? So, now, after going through all these processes, what would be our problem statement? Our problem statement could be how to increase revenue of beta while not compromising the revenue generated from alpha. I'll say that again. Our problem statement could be how to increase the sales of beta while not compromising the sales of alpha. Now, that is very, very, very clear, okay? In the next step, I'm going to show you how to state your objectives, okay? This is step 4. So we've gone through the steps. Right now, for a perfect and effective brainstorm, you've organized your space, you've made sure it's fine, you've set the rules, and then you've laid out the problem. Again, I insist, if you haven't understood how to lay out, how to make a proper problem statement, go back to step 3 and work it out. There are some examples in your workbook that will help you to do just that. Okay, so step 4, you want to state your objectives. In case we solve this problem for company X, what does it give us? I'm using this again as an example. Number 1, it will increase the revenues of the product beta. It will increase the overall revenues of company X. It will give the shareholders more dividends. It will help you create more impact. It will lead you to more profitability, and so on and so forth. Your objectives have to be so high for you to get out people to actually brainstorm to get solutions for it. Okay. So thus far, I've covered those 4 steps, and step 5 is generate the ideas individually. Okay. So you want to make sure that you have stick notes, or you have like a whiteboard like this one, yeah, where all people have sheets of paper where they are writing. So let them sketch out the idea. If you want more light, you can sketch out the sun and put things on the side. Just draw it out, okay? So give them some time to come up with individual ideas, okay? Let's say 10 minutes. And then after they've done that, okay, The last step is come together as a group. Okay, let's say we have 3 people. We have Hassan, we have Helen, and we have Elvis. And then you first go to Hassan and ask him, okay, Hassan, what do you have? And then he will say, this is my first idea. You get it, you put it up on the white wall, then he puts up the second, and then you go to Helen, and Helen also, you also help Helen put up her ideas on stick notes or papers. Then you go to Elvis. Elvis also puts up his ideas, okay? So now you have ideas from 3 individuals. Now you're going to start looking at those ideas and asking yourself, now you're working as a group. This is the last step. Build on those ideas. Ask yourself if, because as one puts up the idea, another one might look at it and see and they are thinking, wait a minute, I can actually build on that one. So when you build on that idea, you still sketch it out on a stick note or paper, and then put it besides that idea. And then what you do is that you go back to all these ideas. Before you know it, you'll have actually so many ideas. So when you want to identify which ideas to keep and which ideas to throw away, is that you again look at your objectives, okay? How many of these ideas actually help us directly to increase the sales of beta? And then you isolate those ones, okay? How many of them will help us to increase the sales, the overall revenues? You map out those ones and take them on the side, and then you remain with only those that you're going to use, okay? So I've gone through 5 or 6 stages. Number 1, you find the right space. Number 2, set the rules. Number 3, lay out the problem statement. Very important. And then state your objectives, come up with ideas as individuals, and then get together as a group and build on those ideas. And the bonus is that you go back to your objectives and then start eliminating the ideas. When you follow through all these steps, you'll be able to generate way more than 50 ideas in 35 minutes. So those are the steps that you follow through to conduct or have a very successful brainstorming project. In case you would want us to come and help you with a brainstorm project, just feel free to contact us. The contacts will be down below, or subscribe if someone just sent you this video. Just go back and subscribe on our website, and you will be able to get more videos that give you clarity as an innovator and help you to create a profit. Thank you so much. My name is Sudesh. Adios, muchachos.